If Pakistan had not chosen to expand the conflict, we would not have hit Pakistani military facilities. We are not looking for war. We are looking only to send a message to terrorists. And that country, if it's not willing to curb them, will have to face the consequences. The reason we have come is very much to seek greater sympathy and understanding on the part of our friends. And also countries that are not necessarily our friends, but you are in the high friends category, for our situation in recent months. In particular, the really, really serious attack on our country by terrorists in Kashmir, in a place called Pahalgam, on the 22nd of April. I must say that we saw the statement by Brazil. We were also very touched by President Lula telephoning our Prime Minister personally to express his concern and condolences. But as you know, in the couple of weeks that followed, absolutely no action was taken to bring the perpetrators to heel or even to look for them in Pakistan. We have identified 4 of them that crossed over from the other side, but there's absolutely no effort made. So finally the government decided it had to send a very strong message. And this is why on the 7th of May, India struck 9 terrorist bases. And I say this very carefully. You know, also from your years at the United Nations, and I think this is the first time I'm seeing you in an Indian capacity. I've always met you as a UN official. Let me say that here we are looking at organizations listed by the 1267 Committee at the UN. These are organizations whose terrorist standing is not in doubt. They're also on the terrorist designate list of the United States government. And their headquarters, base camps.
In the United Nations also.
Yes, in the sanctions, Terrorist Sanctions Committee, 1267 Committee. So I just wanted to say that we chose targets very carefully where every one of them was clearly and explicitly linked to, or the base of, or the training camp of one of these proscribed organizations. Second, we took great care to do so at night, 1:05 to 1:30 in the morning, to minimize any risk of collateral damage, civilians and so on. Normal life was, everyone should be asleep at that time. And then we also explicitly avoided any Pakistani government target, any civilian target, and any military target. So the whole idea was to signal we are not trying to start a war. We are just conducting retribution for an act of terror, which was a really vile act. 26 people killed. They singled out the men on the basis of their religion. They shot them dead in front of their wives and children. It was really horrendous. And it was meant, of course, to do the maximum possible damage to India, to disrupt the Kashmiri economy, which was booming, to end the prospects of tourism flourishing in Kashmir. Tourism had gone up by 100% in the preceding 12 months, to also perhaps create a communal backlash in India, because these people said, are you Hindu? Bang. Can you recite the first verse of the Quran? Then we spare you. And in fact, they spared one man because he could recite. And this was clearly intended to send the message. It is our religion that is killing you. And so the hope was that there would be a backlash back in India. And the Indian people, thank God, had the maturity to stay united.
No,
absolutely. Nothing like that. There were heightened tensions for maybe 24 hours, some minor incidents in university campuses and so on. But thereafter, the whole country rallied behind. And in fact, once the operation started, you would be so impressed to see the strength of opinion of all sections. And in fact, I'm proud to say that every one of our parliamentary delegations going around the world has this diversity of religion I mentioned. Mr. Sarfraz Ahmed is from the Muslim community, is strongly, solidly with us. We've had others leading voices from the Muslim community. And of course, the Kashmiri people, the Kashmiri chief minister, who was elected in an election with a 64% turnout quite recently. He has been really exemplary in speaking up for India and against this hateful terrorism. But you see, Celso, you understand these phenomena so well. I don't want to preach to somebody as knowledgeable as you are. But this is a particularly troubling matter because it is about the use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy. when we struck those terror bases on the 7th, as I said, every one of those bases identified linked to terror. Next morning, there is a funeral at one of the sites, conducted by a person who's also named in the committee, Hafiz Abdul Rauf, who's an elite figure named in the United Nations Sanctions Committee. He's conducting the funeral, and look who's attending: uniformed officers of the police and military of Pakistan. These are all military officers, and there are a couple of police people, senior officials. This is what is going on in Pakistan. This organization, the LET, has created this front called the Resistance Front, so-called. We have been reporting about the Resistance Front to the UN Sanctions Committee time after time. 3 times we've already given details. They claimed credit for the terrorist killings. The next day they repeated that claim. And then when people realized the gravity of it, their handlers in Pakistan got them to delete the claim. But the claim is on record for a full 24 hours. And what is deeply disquieting is when India encouraged our friends on the Security Council to mention the Resistance Front in the press statement that the Security Council issued, the Pakistan government, I'm sorry to say with the support of your friends in China, took out the name. So there is not even a reference to the organization. Yes, of course. And we are also your friends. But we are not on the council. These guys are. And neither are you these days, which is our loss. We have to change that situation, sir. Both of us should be on the council together on a more durable basis. But to come back to the story, so we conducted this. The Pakistanis were told very clearly, and the world was, sorry to say, with the support of your friends in China, took out the name. So there is not even a reference to the organization. Yes, of course. And we are also your friends. But we are not on the council. These guys are. And neither are you these days, which is our loss. We have to change that situation, sir. Both of us should be on the council together on a more durable basis. But to come back to the story, so we conducted this. The Pakistanis were told very clearly, and the world was told, this is a retribution, not the beginning of a war. If you leave this alone, we will leave you alone. Pakistan instead chose to react with disproportionate artillery shelling on civilian areas. They killed 19 civilians in one district alone, Poonch in Kashmir.
The Pakistani
Army, this time official Pakistani army attacked us. They killed 19 civilians. They hit a Sikh temple, a Gurudwara. They hit a convent, the convent of the Carmelites of Mother Mary. They killed civilians in homes. They killed traffic on the streets. It was absolutely shocking. At that point, we also retaliated. There was no declaration of war, but we hit them back very hard. The day after that, they sent drones and missiles. Over 400 drones came across our border, and they fired missiles. I'm proud to say our air defenses proved equal to the task. We, in turn, on the night of the 9th, 10th of May, hit 11 Pakistani military targets. These were airfields of the Pakistani Air Force.
It was when?
Well,
To keep the calendar, this is more or less.
So the whole thing is 88 hours. The entire conflict was 88 hours. Because once we hit these airfields, and there are satellite pictures, not just from us, but commercially available satellite pictures, showing craters in the main airfields of the Pakistan Air Force, after that they asked for peace. They said, let's stop firing. There was a call. You see, the hotline between the two Directors General of Military Operations is always open. So their Director General called ours in the morning of the 10th of May, afternoon at 3:30, a formal call was arranged. They proposed cessation of firing at 5 p.m. We agreed instantly. And I stress this agreed instantly point because our line had throughout been, we don't want a war. Our line had throughout been that we as India are focused on our growth and development. We have no wish to do anything but promote the prosperity and well-being of our people. We do not want to be distracted by conflict and terrorism and war. But you cannot think that people can walk across your border and kill us and go away with impunity. So the message was, if they do that, there will be reprisals. There will be a price to pay. But thereafter, we are not interested in a conflict against the whole Pakistani nation and people with whom we have no quarrel. Now, what happened as soon as this was proposed was that we stopped. And though for a couple of hours there were some people on the other side who violated the agreement, subsided very quickly. And now we have 3 weeks of pretty much calm on the border. So the story is to that degree, for the moment, over. It's a story of an 88-hour conflict. But the larger lessons are what I wanted to talk to you about, and through you, I hope you will share our Prime Minister's concerns with President Lula, because the truth is that we really need understanding from our friends here. This is not some random incident. This is not some random incident, Celso. This is very, very seriously part of an organized effort by elements within Pakistan to systematically undermine the Indian state. It has begun at the end of the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan, when you had a whole bunch of mujahideen trained and ready to be unleashed somewhere with no place to go because the Soviets had left, so they turned them towards India and Kashmir. And from 1989 onwards, we have suffered repeated attacks. You yourself were in the UN when some of them happened. You were also very much aware, I know, both as foreign minister and as defense minister, of incidents including the Mumbai attack in 2008 when 170 people were killed. 2008. But it was 170 people killed, and India chose not to do this but to take the peaceful route because the evidence was all available. Dossiers were compiled. One of the terrorists was captured alive. His home address in Pakistan was known. Everything was identified. Western intelligence agencies, not just ours, had recorded the chilling voice of that killer in Pakistan, the handler, giving minute-by-minute instructions to the terrorists to shoot and kill each of their victims. While the killing was going on, the operation was being directed from Pakistan. All this evidence was collected. And we thought, the government, which was at that point my party's government, Dr. Manmohan Singh's government, thought that this convincing dossier